Very good morning. Welcome to online class 8th history. We are in chapter number 2, that is trade to territory. The last class we discussed about Battle of Plassey and how the British government or the British East India Company or Robert Clive succeeded in getting support of Mir Jafar, was the commander of Sirajuddaula. Sirajuddaula was defeated and executed or killed in the Battle of Plassey. And after the Battle of Plassey, after death of Sirajuddaula, Mir Jafar was made as Nawab of Bengal. But Mir Jafar supposed to behave like a puppet Nawab, means he has to listen to the conditions of British East India Company. As a result, he rebelled. Once he rebelled, he was removed from the power, and Mir Qasim was introduced as a Nawab of Bengal. So this practice of changing Nawabs who opposed the British East India Company was on in Bengal. After that, we of course studied about Battle of Buxar 1764. After Battle of Buxar, the British officials started enjoying the power because the British East India Company got the Diwan of Bengal, that is Diwani of Bengal means right to collect the tax. Now the few British officials started imitating or following the lifestyle of Nawabs. So that is what we are going to study in this class. So in the course of that, company acquired more power and authority, but it also meant something else. After Battle of Plassey, actual Nawabs of Bengal were forced to give land and vast sum of money as a personal gift to the company officials. So company officials expected a lot of gift and money from the Nawabs. Robert Clive himself amused a fortune in India. Robert Clive, of course, charged later as a bribery because he started collecting huge wealth from India because of his tactical involvement in various aspects. He had come to Madras from England in 1743 at the age of 18. When in 1767 he left India, his Indian fortune was worth 401,102 worth million pound. Interestingly, when he was appointed governor of Bengal in 1764, he was asked to remove corruption in the company administration, but he himself was cross-examined in 1772 by the British Parliament, was suspicious of vast wealth, although he was acquitted, and he finally committed suicide in 1774. So growth of Robert Clive, we study the South Indian history. Robert Clive was able governor of the British East India Company, and He was appointed by the British East India Company to control corruption, but he himself involved in corruption charges, and finally an inquiry was started against him by the British Parliament, and finally he killed himself. That is the sad reality of all those who earn money in a illegal or in unethical manner. However, not all company officials succeeded in making money like Robert Clive. Many died an early death in India due to disease and war, and it would not be right to regard all of them as corrupt and dishonest. Many of them came from humble backgrounds, and their uppermost desire to earn enough in India return to Britain and lead a comfortable life. Those who managed to return with wealth led flashy lives and flaunted their riches and were called as Naboobs. So there were many British officials, they were all very good compared to Robert Clive. It's not that all British officials or the East India Company were corrupt. So few were good. That's the reason what we study in the later period. There are several British officials who were involved actually in the establishment of Asiatic Society and collection of huge vernacular literature and gave a lot of support to the study of Indian literature. So now let us understand what we studied till now. Till now we studied about Battle of Plassey, Battle of Buxar, and we also studied about how the right of collection of tax, that is Diwani of Bengal, how right of collection of tax responsible for enormous power gained by the British East India Company, especially by the few officials. Now let us move on to the next major topic, because we understood that now the British by now initially the purpose of landing in India was only for trade, but now slowly they started behaving like administrators because of the power which they assumed after the Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar. Now British East India Company started expanding their rule. That is what company expands their rule, because they wanted to capture South India. So expansion of rule from the period of 1757 to 1857. Now why these two dates? 1757, that's the date of Battle of Plassey, and 1857 is the year where the power of British East India Company or the rule of British East India Company ended in India. So you may be surprised that, but India got independence in the year 1947, and who ruled India from 1857 to 1947? From 1857 to 1947, the British government directly ruled India Prior to that, it was a British East India Company, which was a private mercantile company, ruled India. So now we are going to study about expansion of British East India Company's rule. That is what is very clearly said, that expansion of British East India Company's rule from 1757 Battle of Plassey till 1857, that is the revolt of 1857. So company rarely launched a direct military attack on unknown territories. That is the strategy which the British followed always. British officials won most of the war in a very tactical manner. So they very rarely company attacked on an unknown territory. So what they done? Instead of that, they used the political, economic and diplomatic methods to extend its influence before annexing an Indian kingdom. Let us understand about Battle of Plassey. The Battle of Plassey, how the British won the Battle of Plassey. British won the Battle of Plassey because of the diplomatic effort by the Robert Clive. By the diplomatic effort, Robert Clive he succeeded in getting support of Mir Jafar, was one of the commander of the Siraj-ud-Dawla. He was bribed, or he was given a promise that he will be made as a Nawab of Bengal. So Battle of Plassey, starting from the first one itself, from the Battle of Plassey itself, British won most of the battles by making use of political, economic and diplomatic methods before annexing an Indian kingdom. So before annexing any Indian kingdom or capturing any Indian kingdom, British used their techniques. Remember, Battle of Buxar. Battle of Buxar, which is the year? Battle of Buxar, 1764. Battle of Buxar. The company appointed residents in Indian states. They were political or commercial agents. Their job was to serve the further interest of the company. So what was the job of British the people who are appointed their companies? To protect the interest of, their work is to protect the interest of company. The resident company officials began interfering in the internal affairs of Indian states. So now we are going to study about subsidiary alliance system and doctrine of lapse. If you remember, Kittur Rani Chennamma from Karnataka, of course, Kittur Rani Chennamma, why she fought against the British? Because she lost the power of ruling that particular small regional kingdom because of absence of male heir or successor. The same way, British also started one more policy called subsidiary alliance system. Now what is subsidiary alliance system? Please write down. Subsidiary alliance system. According to the terms of subsidiary alliance system, Indian rulers were not allowed to have an independent armed forces. So those kingdoms who signed subsidiary alliance with the British, they naturally lose the power of having their own army. Try to understand. Those kingdoms who signed or forced to sign subsidiary alliance system, they were not allowed to have their own independent armed forces. But what happens if there is a war? They were protected by the company army. So when there is a war, company army or the British East India Company send their army. Okay, so British East India Company send their army, and for that the local or regional kingdom has to pay money. So they were supposed to pay fees or money for subsidiary forces, that is called subsidiary dues. The company was supposed to maintain for the purpose of this protection. If an Indian ruler failed to make the payment, and part of territory was taken as penalty. Now you understand the whole episode. It is just like you are giving a key of your house to robbers, because they say that don't worry, we are trained so that we can protect your house, don't worry, give the key to us. The same way British said that don't maintain huge army because it needs lot of money. Instead, whenever you are in trouble, we will pay you, we will help you by sending army. But naturally, a kingdom not having money, their own army, naturally considered as weak, and British used to charge heavy amount as subsidiary dues. Most of the kingdoms, they were unable to pay. As a result, they lost their kingdom. For example, Lord Wellesley was a Governor General from 1798 to 1805. Lord Richard Wellesley, the Governor General, and he forced the Nawab of Awadh to hand over half of the territory to the company in the year 1801. Please write down. So which province went under the control of the British due to subsidiary alliance system? So which province went under the control of the British due to subsidiary alliance? That is the province of Awadh. So province of Awadh or kingdom of Awadh, half of the territory of the kingdom of Awadh was given to the company in 1801, and he failed to pay the subsidiary forces, so his territory was taken. Not only Awadh, then Hyderabad also forced to sign the subsidiary treaty. So Hyderabad, Awadh, even later same case happened to the kingdom of Mysore. So subsidiary alliance system or subsidiary alliance system policy introduced by the British. According to subsidiary alliance system, the kingdom or the regional kingdom signed the treaty with the British East India Company, not allowed to have their own army. So when there is a war, British used to send their army, and for that they started charging subsidiary dues. But the subsidiary dues was so heavy, as a result most of the regional kingdoms, they were not in a position to pay the subsidiary dues. As a result, they lost their vast part of their territory or a kingdom to the British East India Company. So kingdom which lost under the subsidiary alliance system was Awadh, Bengal, of course Mysore in the later stages. Hope I made myself very clear. So here you see Nawab Sirajuddaula of Awadh, and with his son and the British resident. So here the treaties were followed after the Battle of Buxar, forced the Nawab Shajuddaula to give up much of his authority here. However, he possesses towering over the resident. So, the British East India Company started encroaching Indian property in a different manner. It's a terminology used. Okay, in next class we'll study about Anglo-Mysore Wars and how the British succeeded in annexing Mysore. It was considered as one of the important place for the British East India Company to carry on the trade. Thank you.